set. Three, two, and one. All right. Hello, everyone. Meteorologist Jordan Darensbourg here. I'm here with the latest on our severe weather situation. We're starting off with a live look at our radar because we don't really see much shower activity now, but the shower activity we do see with a lot of the cloud cover in place is limiting our instability values for the afternoon. However, what we are watching with the latest on the SPC is that the Storm Prediction Center has now given much of Central Texas down to a 2 out of 5, a slight risk for severe weather. Now that's good news because a lot of the maximum instability, a lot of the conditions conducive to tornado development has shifted off to the northeast. As you can see with that wider look, there is an area of Texoma over portions of northeast Texas, southeast Oklahoma, southwestern Arkansas. Those areas are under a moderate risk for severe weather, which means numerous tornadoes in those areas are possible. Now, I do want to mention that Milam County is still in that enhanced risk, and they have the best chances for tornado development, especially later on this evening. But the tornado threat in Central Texas overall may be slightly lower, but not zero. And we're looking more like a hail and damaging wind threat. However, that's not to say we won't be seeing any isolated brief spin-up tornadoes. They are still definitely possible. So please, 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 it is important that you have a way to receive warnings at any point during the evening hours. And taking another look at that hatched area, of course, has now shifted off to the northeast. And I'm going to go ahead and draw a little line here to show you guys where exactly it is now. It's now mainly over portions of Milam County and not necessarily over much of the coastal plains like it was earlier today, because again, that threat has now shifted off to the northeast. And those black hashes you see, that is the hatched area, and tornadoes there could be EF2 or stronger. And even then, it is only a 10% chance of tornado development within 25 miles of a point, and it would be only a 5% chance in that brown area, which now encompasses most of the KVUE viewing area. So good news on that front. Let's see some of your comments. If there's no sun or heat, there's no hail. I think you are exactly right, Alexa, because I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to time everything hour by hour here as we head through the afternoon to kind of show you. And I'm going to actually take this full screen to kind of show you what I am talking about here, because we do have that area, that period, that time frame later on in the afternoon where we have dry conditions and we have sunshine. Now, what that's going to cause is instability in the atmosphere out ahead of that Pacific front. And once we get the cap breaking a little bit, that's when at around 7 p.m. we could see that line of thunderstorms forming mainly along the I-35 corridor, and hail, damaging winds, again, the main threats. But we cannot rule out an isolated brief spin-up tornado by any stretch of the imagination, especially if you're in Milam County where you're still under that enhanced risk. But then as we head into 9, 10 o'clock, that's when that line makes its way through the coastal plains, and it'll intensify a little bit as it does, because we're going to have a little bit more in terms of moisture concentration in the atmosphere. More moisture means more energy for these storms, and that's how these storms are going to fire up, and that's what allows for the better chances for those thunderstorms. And especially if you get the two counteracting wind speeds along that frontal boundary, we could get some spin-ups, we could get some vorticity, and could get some rotation, and that could lead to a brief spin-up tornado along that line. But then as we head into Saturday morning, that is when we expect to see everything dry out. So we're going to go back, and for those new people who are just joining us, the 157 of you that have shown up, Catherine is asking about preparing for tornadoes. While the tornado threat is lower, still prepare because it is not zero. I do want to go ahead and bring myself back up and explain that while the tornado threat is lower, slightly lower, because the atmosphere is more conducive off to our northeast, off toward the Piney Woods, off toward places like Corsicana and areas east of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, Tyler, and on toward Texarkana where they have that moderate risk. That doesn't mean the risk is zero here in Central Texas. We can still get a brief spin-up tornado. It was nearly 2 weeks ago where we had that tornado in Gerald. It was a brief tornado. It was an EF1, but we still had a tornado in that Gerald area. So just because the threat is low does not make it zero at all. So we're going to go ahead. Let me bring Max 1 back up to kind of explain that a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and go back and show you our live radar right now to show you that we do have a few isolated rain showers still hanging around, mainly along the I-35 corridor and off to points east. Places like Bastrop have seen a few isolated showers. Places like Georgetown and Round Rock have seen a few of those isolated showers as well. And again, we're going to show you that Storm Prediction Center, the latest data that came in, and it shows that the enhanced risk has moved slightly off to the northeast, and now much of the KVUE viewing area is now under that slight risk of severe weather, but slight does not mean zero. And so Sissy has a question. Hello, Sissy Allen. For tonight, for any football games, you definitely want to make sure you have the umbrella, you have the poncho, especially early on in the game, and I do think it is possible given storms that there could be a lightning delay. So be prepared for that as well. Let's see what other questions you guys may have. Susan, hello from Leander. Catherine, hello. Jessica tagging her homie, Gwen, or sister, or I don't even know how everyone's y'all's related, so apologies if I messed that up. But I do want to show you guys what we're dealing with that. We've got a lot going on today, so definitely stay weather aware this afternoon. Let's see what more of your questions anyone has. Carol, hello. I hope everyone's had a good weekend. Oh, so Maricela Tello asking about South Austin. We're going to go ahead and put the timing on it again. And we're going to show you South Austin real quick. And we're going to go hour by hour again, and we're going to go slow and methodical here so that we can get your questions answered, because I know the questions for a lot of you all are going to involve timing. So I'm going to go ahead and answer that for you real quick at around 5 p.m. Now, this is 5 o'clock. This is while, if we have high school football, you know, this is while the tailgates are going on. So we're going to have a bit of a dry low right now. Could see a few scattered showers and storms out in the coastal plains. Oh, sorry about that. Mouse being a little wild there. But yes, mainly out in the coastal plains and on in Milam County. Could see a few rumbles of thunder there, you know, and we're going to be watching that, see if that turns severe even as well. But then as you head into 6:30 and 7 o'clock, depending on what that front does and depending on what that capping inversion does, give or take, that could be the timeline for South Austin. But then, as we go hour by hour again, I know Michelle Samuelson, we're going to get some data for you in a little bit in terms of rain showers, but I doubt that's going to be amounting to very much because these were mainly light showers. It's not like we had heavy rain like what could be embedded in some of these thunderstorms later on tonight. And now, Brandon, I know you are asking about Giddings. Tornado threat is slightly lower, but as you go into 8:39, that's when we should be seeing places like Giddings involved in that tornado threat. Before we clear out by the time we get to 10 p.m. for you guys. And then Fayette County, according to this model, has that line of storms making its way throughout around 10 o'clock. So it'll strengthen as we get into those coastal plains and we have more access to that moisture and more access to that Gulf instability that's inducing it. So we're going to be getting out of here at around midnight in terms of that storm. So we're going to be drying out then. But behind the front, we're going to start to cool down behind it. So we're going to go ahead and summarize. Leander, not quite. Alicia, we still got to be weather aware because we don't know where that line is going to form. It could actually form off in the hill country still, depending on where that cap finally erodes. That's when those storms will pop up and they'll strengthen more as they make their way. So that's a lot we have to deal with. And for Lockhart, Jennifer, we are looking mainly around, to answer your question, Lockhart, we're looking mainly around 7. 7's your time frame for that squall line to make its way through. Hayes County, about 30 minutes before, to answer Marissa's question. Kyle, same as Marissa. That's about something, that kind of thing. But Skeeter Park, I don't know about. That's the very tricky part, is where that cap is going to erode. I'm going to take myself up again because there's a very tricky component when we're talking about the Austin metropolitan area. It's where is that cap going to finally erode along that frontal boundary to allow those storms to pop up. Wherever that takes place, and it's probably going to take place at around 5, 6 o'clock, 6 or 7, that's where those storms will start to fire up, and they'll only strengthen as they make their way to the southeast and collect a lot of that Gulf moisture. So it's really, really iffy to say whether a certain town will get a storm, whether a certain town in the Austin area will not get a storm, but we know for a fact, more than likely, the coastal plains will be seeing some of that severe weather, and we could be looking mainly at damaging winds and hail. Those look like the main threats now with the latest SPC guidance, but an isolated tornado can't be ruled out, especially in Milam County, because there's an enhanced risk for severe weather, a 10% tornado parameter, and Milam County is in that hatched area where you have the potential for some stronger tornadoes there. So there are a lot of components, even a few hours before the event, that we're trying to hammer down, that we're trying to nail down. So that's something we're going to watch. Also, to answer Maricella's question, this is going to not pass go nor collect $200, meaning yes, it is going to be a very fast moving storm. And I'm going to show you what this means for our rainfall rates, because a lot of people are going to know how much rain we might get as well. And I'm going to go ahead and answer that for you. And I'm going to take that full screen as well. Excuse me. There we go. And we're going to go with our rainfall forecast here. This is going on through about 11 tonight. And a lot of these models do have over an inch of rain. It wouldn't do Lake Travis any good, because here is Lake Travis as we go ahead and pull this up a little bit. Let's see here. See how we can pull this up here. It doesn't look like we have those capabilities on this particular map, but yeah, we don't have the capabilities on that particular map, but Lake Travis is off to the west of the majority of all that rain. So a lot of areas in the hill country, according to our model data, look like they're going to be shut out here, which is not good news for those highland lakes like Lake Travis, like Lake LBJ, and those areas. It's just not going to be good news for that drought situation. But as we deal with what's going on, Brandon, I know you just talked about how it's going to be sunny in Giddings. You do not want the sun out anywhere in Central Texas, especially in the coastal plains. And that is because when you have that daytime heating, when you have that sunshine, that instability adds up throughout the course of the afternoon. And when you add that instability, and once that front moves through, that's more energy, that's more jet fuel for those thunderstorms. So you don't want that. You don't want the sun out. You want it to be cloudy. It can limit the daytime heating it can limit the instability. We've seen quite a bit of cloudiness here in the immediate Austin metro, and that's good news, but we could still see some scattered severe storms in the Austin metro, but especially out in the coastal plains. So that kind of helps answer your question a little bit. Let's see, Michael Powell out in Gerald. I know you guys have really dealt with it, with tornadoes, and I won't say that we could not have a tornado there, but we definitely want you to be weather aware. The tornado parameters are lower across much of the KVUE viewing area, and we're going to go ahead and we are going to show you those again, because much of Williamson County, actually all of Williamson County, is under a 5% tornado parameter. As we pull up max again, 5% tornado parameter for Williamson County, but again, it's this hatched area out in Milam and on in portions of the Brazos Valley that are in that hatched area, and they have the best chances for some of those stronger tornadoes. So Adrian Avila in Waco, you guys have a better shot. You guys are still under that enhanced risk. I would say setting up in camera, if you're chasing Joe, one, be safe. Two, please, please, please make sure you set up at a safe spot. And I would say Cameron does sound like a good spot. Could see a strong tornado there if you're planning on chasing that. So be careful for that. And now let's see. Sun is out in southeast Austin, according to Maricela. Alexa Tremina, I wouldn't say Round Rock would be in danger per se, but the risk is there. So Ashley, we cannot say whether or not, like I just talked about, we can't say whether or not this will skip Cedar Park or not. Maynard, Jeffrey, that does look like a good shot. And I'm gonna go ahead and pull myself up full to let y'all know, yes, anywhere along and east of I-35, just be prepared for severe weather. Everywhere else in the Austin metro, also be prepared, because we don't know where exactly, we can't actually pinpoint when that cap will break. And if that cap could break earlier, it could break later. But if the cap breaks earlier, all of the Austin metro is under the gun. But if the cap breaks a little later, we're looking mainly at a coastal plains threat. What I can tell you is that there will be a break in the cap. That the cap is a temperature inversion at the higher levels of the atmosphere. Think of it as, say, boiling water in a pan while you're cooking up some smoked sausage to put in your jambalaya or whatever barbecue dishes you have planned. Say you're cooking smoked sausage and you're boiling your water, right? And you have it covered by a pan, right? That pan is what the cap is doing. The cap is acting as the pan, keeping the boiling water from evaporating and forming those clouds that would lead to those thunderstorms. So that cap, what that does, it's going to prevent a lot of that thunderstorm development early on. But later on, once that cap erodes away, once you take that top of the pan off, that's when you get that rise. That's when you get those thunderstorms. That's where you can get those stronger storms. And that's where you could get some rotation, especially with the difference in wind direction and those strong wind speeds. So now let's take Max 1 again. We're going to show you this detail. So let's see what we have. Yeah, Alexa, I know Round Rock still is dealing with it and that kind of thing, but we're looking mainly at Milam County, where we still have that hatched area, but the severe weather risk is now down to a 2 out of 5, but it is not 0. And I'm going to show you all the risks again to kind of show you guys, hey, damaging winds and large hail are still a threat, but isolated tornadoes are also in play as well, although not as pronounced as previous forecasts because of that updated SPC. So I want to make sure what we have here. And so Kathy is asking Weatherford, Texas. Let's see, Weatherford, Texas. All right, let's see. Weather for Texas out in Parker County. And see where that map is. We're looking at the map now in Weatherford County, and it's west of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, so y'all should be okay. Weatherford is west of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Areas east of there should be okay. So that's the good news there, but we do want you to be weather aware no matter where you are in the Lone Star State, especially if you're east of I-35. And Diane, she's checking in from Liberty Hill, out in southwestern Williamson County. Now, Liberty Hill, you know, we've got those winds, and a lot of the winds are picking up. That's ahead of the frontal boundary. And I'm going to show you with these streamlines to tell you what I'm talking about. See how fast these streamlines are moving? Those depict faster wind speed. So it's not just going to be doing this in Liberty Hill. It's going to be doing this all over the KVUE viewing area. So just make sure that you have a way to receive warnings later on this evening. Kathy, my pleasure. Yes, absolutely. Everyone, please stay safe. Let's see. Any questions? Any questions? Tiffany, I know you added about Round Rock. And again, Round Rock is in that uncertain area where that cap's going to break. But along I-35 eastward, that does look like the better shot for severe weather. So we're taking a look. Let's see anyone else. Benning Leander will be safe today and tonight. Well, Leander should be okay for the most part, but any storm that passes up could be in its infancy stages because that's where the cap would exactly erode right there over Leander, and it would probably be the better shot. And I think Hutto. So Hutto, Joe, in case you're wondering, that last run came at around 11:30 a.m. local time. And UTC, that would be around 16:30 UTC. But San Marcos, Abby, you're in that little hatched area, whatever, and here you go. We're going to go ahead and time everything out for you again because I know it's going to be coming around again. When will the NWS update before again? This is not going to be their last update. They're going to update it later on in the day, probably during the mid-afternoon, and they're going to do a little check. And if we get an expansion, it'll expand. And if the atmosphere doesn't look conducive to them, they can also move it a little further northeast. But a lot of general trends, Brandon, is that a lot of these storms are going to be moving to the northeast. Here it is at around 2, 3 o'clock. Some of storms, especially east of I-35. Now, there could be some severe weather associated with that, depending on the amount of instability in the atmosphere. This model does have upper 80s, but by the time we get to around 5 p.m., we do expect to be mainly dry, and then the main line pops up by the time we get to 6:30, 7 o'clock, depending on where that cap erodes. It could be western Travis County and Hayes, western Williamson, or along I-35, or eastern Hayes, Travis, Williamson. But I can tell you for certain the coastal plains are going to be seeing that line of strong storms move through. It's all going to be coming down to where that cape is going to erode along that frontal boundary, when that cape erodes and where that frontal boundary is. Those are the two main factors as to who will see what in terms of severe weather, or whether they get totally shunned and miss out. But let's see. Kimberly is talking about the sun coming out in Georgetown. Exactly. That facial emoji is exactly right. That's not good news. Elgin, yes, around 7:30, I would look at Elgin. San Marcos, Abby, to answer your question, would be around 6:37, depending on the outcome of the two factors I just talked about. When does the cap erode, and where is that front? And if that cap erodes with the front anywhere west of I-35, then anywhere in Williamson County and Travis, including the city of Austin, as well as Hayes, would be under the gun. But if that front is right on the 35 corridor, right when that cap erodes, that is when we can see mainly areas east of 35 deal with all the severe weather. No matter how you slice it, the coastal plains are getting hit with some strong thunderstorms, a strong line of storms. Let's be real honest here. But the question mark is going to be the frontal boundary, where it is once that cap erodes. We're certain that the cap is going to erode, that capping inversion in the atmosphere, that's going to erode. But the question is, when it erodes, where's that front going to be? And that's the confusing factor right now. So if we get that cap eroding right where that front is, that's when we can get those storms right along that line. And depending on timing, that can add a little bit of energy. That's why the tornado threat isn't zero in Central Texas, folks, because it's still there. It's very, 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 very small. So that's what we're doing. So for San Antonio, I think San Antonio looks like they're going to be in the clear, Adrian, to answer your question. The tornado threat would be in the evening hours. Abby out of Belton and Temple, that's my old stomping grounds, by the way, because I, of course, was at KCEN. That's my old stomping grounds. And then as we go through 6:30, 7 o'clock, I would say around 6:30 for you guys in my old neck of the woods of Belton and Temple. Let's see what else. Same story, Round Rock, sunny now on Burnett Road, which is really not good. But we also have San Antonio. Looks like San Antonio should be okay. I do not expect any issues there. Let's see, what else have we here? Anyone else? Teresa from Granger, hello. I'm glad you guys are checking in. And now Flatonia, if we're looking at Flatonia around 8:39. Flatonia, 8:39. The county, I think that would be Bastrop County. I'm trying to remember here. Still kind of new to this, but I can tell you that for a fact, Flatonia is in the coastal plains from what I remember. But Fayette County, yep. The Fayette County, yes. Then definitely around 9:30, 10. Thank you for answering that, Johanna. Yeah, I'm just trying to get used to everywhere is and that kind of thing. I've been here since May, so still kind of new here. But also the Jordy meter, Marty, to answer your question, Marty, it's a 5. It is a 5 because of the cloud cover earlier on today, and we have that line of storms like I'm talking about right now. Lexington, I think you guys are going to have it at around 6:37. I believe you guys are also in the coastal plains. I think you guys are in Lee County. I believe that's near Giddings, and that would be around 8:39. So Thorndale, Bria, answer your question about Thorndale. Could see a few scattered storms, mainly in the mainly earlier in the afternoon. Could see 1 to 2 pop-up storms, but it's going to be later on tonight, 8:39 for you guys. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to talk about the what we're dealing with right now. For those of you just joining us, we do have a few isolated showers, and I'm going to take this full as well. A few isolated showers, mainly off to our west now, so barely touching our Highland Lake system in extreme southwestern Williamson County. And we've also got places like Dripping Springs off to the north and west of Buda, seeing a few isolated showers. And we've got places like Thorndale looking mainly dry, and on towards Giddings, maybe even the Dime Box area, just a brief shower there. Also downtown, starting to see a few isolated showers, just a brief shower along Mopac there, headed towards 183. And then just south of Hamilton Pool in the Henley area on that Blanco Hayes County line along 290, seeing some showers as well. Also places just off to the east of Marble Falls, seeing an isolated shower. Right there along the Colorado River, heading closer to Lake Travis. Those areas seeing a few isolated showers as well. So southeast Georgetown. Southeast Georgetown tonight, I would think around 637. Thank you, Sylvia. Just doing my job. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Kimberly. So let's talk about Leander, Leslie. Again, Leander is in that little area of kind of uncertainty because it depends on where that front is once the cap breaks. And if the cap breaks earlier and that front's way off in, say, Blanco and Burnett counties, then those areas should see those storms fire up first before it sweeps into portions of Williamson and Travis County. So I'm taking myself up again to kind of show you, because later on, depending on where the front is, if the front say this is Burnett and this is Blanco counties. If the front end's here, then you get the storms bubbling up, and then it comes into Williamson as well as Travis counties, and then it'll intensify as it makes its way off into the coastal plains. But when you've got the front right about here, which would be where Williamson and Travis County are, right at that line, then the storms won't be as intense as it crosses into the Austin metro area. So timing of the cap eroding is going to be everything tonight when it comes to the Austin metro. But the coastal plains, no matter how you slice it, we're still going to have a strong line of storms passing throughout the course of the night. So have multiple ways to receive warnings, especially if you are in the coastal plains, especially even in Milam County. And we are going to go ahead and we're going to show you why, because you guys are still in that enhanced risk. You're still in that enhanced risk, that 3 out of 5 risk. It's mainly going to be for you guys. But here's the even worse news. If you have interests in Northeast Texas, make sure that they are weather aware, because those areas are under the moderate risk for severe weather, as I take myself back on the camera for here. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to show you this, because this is very, very important, especially if you're in places, if you have relatives in places east of Dallas, like say you've got Tyler, Longview, Texarkana, just south and west of Little Rock, places like Conway could be seeing some of that as well, and off to portions of southeastern Oklahoma. Those areas have the biggest threat for severe weather. We have Gerald, Sydney. I know Sydney and Chris, I know you're asking about Gerald. Let's go ahead and go to timing, because I think it's around 6:37 where you guys would see it. And Gerald really is going to be in that uncertainty zone. So I'm going to see if I can draw out this uncertainty zone for timing here on our severe outlook here. So I'm going to draw it out. So your uncertainty zone, and I think I still have it full, yeah. So the uncertainty zone really is going to be between the I-35 corridor on through portions of Blanco and Burnett counties. And so this is the area we're going to be watching as we head through the latter portions of the afternoon and the early evening, because this is the area where we could see that cap erode, and that's where the front would be. Wherever this happens, wherever we get this situation happening, as I'm going to take myself back up here, wherever this happens, inside that red area, that's where we should see the storms fire up, and it would be between 5:30 and 6 when that happens. So places like Gerald, places like Georgetown, areas to the west of there, places like Florence, Leander, Cedar Park, you'll need to be watching, especially at around 5 o'clock. Hunter Williams is going to be on air, and he's going to be tracking all of this live. And he's going to go into more detail about it at that point to see if any storms start to fire up between 5 and 6 o'clock. Because this is going to be the important part, because this is an area where we're not totally 100% sure. Forecasters aren't 100% sure when we're going to be seeing that bubble up. That's why we have that 2 out of 5 stretching all the way back through portions of the hill country, because they're trying to make sure that we can hammer down when that cap's going to erode. And when that cap does erode, that frontal boundary will determine where we'll see those storms fire up. So there is a lot in play here. So bear with us on this, because there's a lot in play. So Fredericksburg, I highly doubt Gillespie County will have any severe weather. In fact, Gillespie County is totally out of the SPC outlook. It wasn't a marginal earlier today, but they are completely out of it. The cap will not erode in time for Gillespie County to have any threat of severe weather, so you guys are good. And Dripping Springs could see a few isolated storms. Again, you guys in Dripping Springs, you're in that area of uncertainty too. So I'm going to go ahead and scale these all back, and I'm going to draw this line a little bit. I'll draw this again, but I'm going to draw this again because I think it should be a little bit wider, this area here. So your area of uncertainty is right in here for Central Texas, right in here. And again, I'm going to draw like a little mini hatched area to kind of show you guys, okay, this could be the area where we could see those storms develop. And that's why that 2 out of 5 is still off towards portions of the hill country because of that risk. Giddings at around 8:39, we should look at that, Stacy. Round Rock, if you get the development, it'll be around 6:37. Mallory, talking about Marble Falls. Marble Falls, 6:37. That could be your best chance for some of those scattered storms as well. Let's see, anyone else? Maricela saying the sun keeps coming out in Southeast Austin. That's not good. That's not good. That's what we have. My pleasure, Randy. Let's see, what else have we have here? It looks like that's all the questions we have for right now. But I'm going to go ahead and go through the timing because timing is going to be very important for a lot of you guys. And I know this is going to be asked by a lot of you. So we're seeing a few isolated showers right now before we get into the timing. So that shower activity could limit that instability in a sense because you've got that moisture still in the atmosphere, but the threat's still going to remain regardless. And Jennifer, to answer your question about Hutto, I would say about 7 to 7:30 for you guys in Eastern Williamson County out toward Taylor. Michelle, if we're looking for Del Valley, Cedar Creek, it'll be just east of the airport. That's you guys. I would say around 6:37. Elizabeth Sanchez from Pflugerville, the sun keeps coming out. That's not good. And so we have a lot of you guys asking about the timing. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to slowly and methodically go through this. So this is right now. This is around noon. This is right now. A few of those isolated showers. And then those showers are going to shift off to the north and east. Could have some embedded thunderstorms. And they might even be strong as well, especially east of I-35. But then as we head into 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock, this is what we're going to be watching because the sun's going to be out throughout much of Central Texas. And that's jet fuel along that frontal boundary, but there is that cap in place at that time too. So we have to think about that as well. But then as we go on forward, let's go to 5:30, and there's that front passing through the hill country at around 6, and then that front reaches the area of uncertainty at 6:30 on into 7 o'clock. But then that's when the cap breaks, and that, according to this model, is where we start to see everything start to pop off. At around 8 o'clock, there's that line of storms really starting to intensify as we head into 10 o'clock. And then after 10:30, 11, we're going to start to dry out, and then we should be okay for Saturday morning. So keep it here to KVUE. We're going to have all the latest on this developing situation. Hunter Williams will be in later on this evening. Shane Hinton's going to come in as backup in case we have things really starting to pop up, especially east of I-35. But for now, meteorologist Jordan Darensbourg here. Thank you guys so much for being with me here for over these past 40 minutes, and hope everyone stays safe and healthy. Please take care of yourself and each other. Thank you.